So these are specific examples for page 7 of your percent math pack. So page 7 is percent of a number. So hopefully you've already watched the video that gives you the lesson on how to find the percent of a number. And now we're just going to answer some of the questions on page 7. So for number 1, you're finding 5% of 45. Remember from the lesson, you have 3 steps, 2 steps plus an answer line. Step 1, take your percent and change it to a decimal by dividing by 100. Move that decimal 2 spots over so that now I have 0.05 or 5 hundredths. Once you have changed your percent to a decimal, you take that decimal and you multiply it with the number that you're working with originally from the question. And that's step 2. So I take my 0 and 5 hundredths and I multiply it with 45. 5 times 5 is 25, carry your 2. 5 times 0 is 0, plus the 2 that you carried is 2. 5 times 0 is 0. Put your x and do your 4. 4 times 5 is 20. Carry your 2. 4 times 0 is 0, plus the 2 that you carried. 4 times 0 is 0. Add them up. 5 plus nothing is 5. 2 plus nothing is 2. Nothing plus 2 is 2. And nothing is nothing. I have I have 2 decimal spots in my question, so I'm going to have 2 decimal spots in my answer. I don't need to write the 0 at the start of the number, so 2 and 25 hundredths is going to be my answer. So you write your own therefore. Therefore, 5%. Of 45 equals 2 and 25 hundredths. So you're going to do this exact method, all of these steps for all of these questions, all the way from 1 all the way down to 12. 13 all the way to 18 are a little bit different because you're dealing with money. So let's talk about how that would change just for these specific examples. So take a look at number 13. I have 45% of $90. So step 1 stays the same. 45% changed to a decimal by dividing by 100. 1, 2 spots over, 0.45. Here's where the difference comes in. When you're dealing with money, and you'll notice that 13, 15, 16, 17, and 18, they all have zeros here. And so you're dealing with money. I want you to keep that in mind. When it comes to doing step 2, you don't need to include the zeros. There's no need for that. When it comes to writing your answer, we will put those cents back in. But for ease, to make it easier for you, just use 90. So if you don't have any cents, just use the dollars. So 0 and 45 hundredths times $90. Don't include the cents. You don't have to have all those zeros. On number 14, you will have to include the cents because they're not zeros. But for all the rest of them, you don't need to. So 0 times 5 is 0. 0 times 4 is 0. And 0 times 0 is 0. Put your x, move to your 9. 9 times 5 is 45. Carry your 4. 9 times 4 is 36. Plus the 4, is 40, carry your 4. 9 times 0 is 0, but 9 times 0, 0 plus the 4 is 4. Add them up. Put in your decimal, 2 decimal spots, 2 decimal spots. And look, my cents are already there, $40.50. So even though I didn't include them there, they've shown up, which is helpful for me when it comes to writing my answer. So, therefore, 45% of $90 is $40.50. So here's how you do it when you're working with money, specifically when you're working with money that doesn't have cents at the end. Make it easier for yourself by knocking those zeros off and only including them when you need to. All right, take a look at number 19. Number 19 is going to ask you to make a comparison between two different percents of two different numbers. Which one is bigger and which one's smaller, or which one is equal. So you're going to be using the equal sign or the larger than or the smaller than sign. So you're going to have to, when it comes to number 19 all the way to number 22, you're going to need to do these 2-3 steps twice to figure out which is which. So take a look at number 19. We'll do that one together. I'm just going to check to see how much time we have left. We have 3 minutes. Okay, so I've got number 19. 8% of 140. So first, 8% equals 0.08, which we know when you divide the percent by 100, you get a decimal. So that's step 1. Step 2, I take my 140 and my 0, and I times them up. So 8 times 0 is 0, 8 times 4 is 32, carry your 3. 8 times 1 is 8, plus the 3 that you carried is 11. There's nowhere to carry that other 1, so it stays in your answer line. And then I've got 2 zeros, so I know that all my answers are going to be 0 because I've got zeros on the bottom. And then I add them up. Add in my decimal spots, 2 spots, 2 spots. So 11.2, or 11 and 2/10. So therefore, 8% of 140 equals 11 and 2/10. Now you have to do the other side. 80% of 14. How much is 80% of 14? So you take your 80%, which equals 0.8, well, 0.80, right? Because I moved my decimal over. Now, when you're timesing, do I need to keep that 0? No, I don't, because there's nothing that comes after it. So let's use my 0.8. Step 2, I take my 0.8 and I'm timesing it with 14. So 8 times 4 is 32, carry your 3. 8 times 1 is 8, plus the 3 that you carried is 11. You can see where we're going with this now. And then, of course, zeros. Add them up, put your decimal in there. And are they the same? Yes, they are. Therefore, 80% of 14 equals 11 and 2/10. So when it comes to this question, you're going to fill in that blank with an equal sign.